Every time that my mind slips, I just see my past life. Having dreams in a dream, I wonder, can we be strangers again? Start fresh like a morning. What's so bad about that? Of you, you, 3D of you, of you, of you, 3D of you, yeah, you, 3D of you, of you. Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights.
So what I typically do on this channel, or I should say probably what I do a lot of, is tutorials where I walk you through step by step how to use a piece of software or some sort of device or anything to kind of help you get more things done. Now, what you've also heard me talk a little bit about, not quite as much as the tutorials, are some of the things that I've built myself, something that you might refer to as a side project. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. That is a side project and why you should have one. But before we talk about why you should have a side project, I think it's important to define what a side project is, because I think there's going to be a lot of other terms that are thrown around pretty regularly, particularly on the internet, that would be confused for a side project. So what I'm not talking about is a side hustle, something that you do to try to get you money, or just something where the end goal is to make money. The other thing I'm not talking about on the other end of the spectrum is that this is not a passion project. In other words, it's not something that you just want to do for the sake of doing it. Another word for a passion project would be a hobby. I personally play hockey from time to time as a goalie, and by no means is that something that I would consider a side project or something that I could later turn into a business, besides the fact that I'm not really that great. Plus it's good exercise, so that's why I like to do it, but it's not a side project. Again, it's more of a hobby. Okay, so we kind of know what a side project is not, but what is a side project? In essence, a side project is a project that you pursue to help solve a particular problem. Now, this could be a project that you yourself have been experiencing and you have not been able to find a good solution to. This could also be a problem that you see other people regularly experiencing, and maybe the solutions that are out there for that problem aren't that good, and you feel that you can implement something better or something competitive with what already exists. And it is a problem that you can now solve, or are willing to invest the time, effort, and energy into learning how to solve that problem. Now, in order for you to be able to tackle the problem that you have picked out for your side project, it has to fall within your realm of expertise. If you're trying to solve a chemistry or a physics problem and you have no understanding of chemistry or physics, you're gonna have a pretty rough road ahead of you. So either A, you're gonna have to pretty quickly learn chemistry or physics or whatever it is you need to learn, or B, you're gonna have to find something else to pursue. So the first thing you wanna do is, if you have to write it down, that's totally fine, but you want to pick out or list out the things that you are able to do or pursue or even pay somebody else to do to help alleviate that problem. In other words, what are your competencies? What are you good at? What are your skills? What are the things that you can employ to help solve the problem that you're trying to solve? So let me give you some practical examples pulling from my own experience. So first off, I am a designer. So I've been in the field of design ever since I was in high school. I've been pretty active in design. I went to art school for a time, worked for a book publisher, and did a lot of freelance design after that. Secondarily, I am a WordPress-based web developer. So I built a ton of websites either for clients or for myself, all built on PHP and WordPress. Also, I'm a videographer, as you've gotten some insight into if you've been watching this channel for a while. Once you've got your competency selected, the next thing you want to do is pick which specific problem you're going to solve. So what might be helpful for you is I'm actually going to go through a little bit of a list of some of the things that I've experienced, problems that I've encountered, and the specific tools or side projects I've created to help alleviate those problems. The first and probably the most obvious would be this YouTube channel. About 5 years ago, as I mentioned earlier, I created this YouTube channel primarily because I was constantly searching YouTube for solutions to specific problems, and I wasn't finding the answers at least satisfactory. So what I always ended up doing was going through this rabbit trail, this long series of Google searches and other research, and then trial and error just on my own to try to help solve a particular problem that I was finding. After I had finally solved the problem, I realized, why don't I just put these out onto YouTube? And ever since then, I've had specific videos. Some have done much better than others, but I've had some videos that have had hundreds of thousands of views, specifically because I found a problem that other people were also experiencing. I figured out, solved that problem, and just told people what I did. The next is a tool called Startboard. Startboard is simply born out of the frustration that I had of not being able to keep all of my bookmarks organized. I went through all the pain and the hassle of having everything in Safari and iOS so that I had all of my bookmarks synced across all of my Apple devices. So I finally had it how I wanted it to look and how I wanted it organized so I could access everything fairly easily. Until, of course, I got a PC, at which point you can't have Safari. There is no iCloud. There is, but it's a little bit more limited. So all of my bookmarks were completely isolated into that iOS or Apple ecosystem, which was really frustrating. So what I did is I created Startboard, which is a start page for your browser, totally free, by the way. And all you have to do is add in all your bookmarks, organize them, set it as your home page for all of your devices, including mobile, and then you're off and running. So now every single time I start a new tab or a new web browser on any of my devices, all of my bookmarks are right there that I can instantly search and access. The next tool is one called Radarist, and Radarist was created again out of a frustration or a problem that I kept encountering, which was that none of the to-do or task management tools that I was finding made it easy to track and manage big projects or goals. Instead, what I always ended up with, and still today end up with pretty frequently, is giant long to-do lists that aren't grouped or categorized to help get me to make small incremental progress towards getting a bigger project or goal accomplished. Now, right now, I am in the process of developing 2.0 of Radarist. So the current Radarist is kind of basic and very, very simplistic in its way of approaching this methodology, but eventually I'll be creating a more complex, more robust, more user-friendly and powerful approach to managing bigger projects and goals. The next problem that I've encountered as somebody who regularly creates YouTube videos is managing the links in the description of my YouTube videos. So if you've seen other YouTubers do this, or if you've experienced this yourself, I'm sure you know the frustration well, which is that you've got a ton of videos that you've created. Maybe you've created 15 videos, maybe you've created 100 videos, maybe you've created 300 videos. Well, over time, you're gonna be putting links in the description to various things. Maybe things like Twitter, maybe things like a Instagram page, or maybe a particular product or course that you sell, or to your website, or to a list of Amazon affiliate links that are all relevant to the video that you created. The problem is that after, let's say, a year or two pass, maybe your Amazon affiliate links change, or maybe you change your Twitter handle, or maybe your web address changes, or maybe there's a new course that you just created that's relevant to a bunch of the other videos that you've created in the past. Well, you've pretty much only got one option, which is to go back through all of your old videos and either add or change all of the links that you have to, which, to put it mildly, would take some time. So what I've been in the process of creating now is a tool called TubeLinks. And in essence, what this allows you to do is to create a single link or just 3 or 4 small category type links where you can just provide access to all of the things that you want to. So for example, I'm gonna leave a link in the description of this video, which has links to specific categories. And each of those categories will show a list of links. So things like the camera gear that I use, some of my YouTube playlists, and other things of that variety. That way I just provide a few short links that somebody can go off to and visit all of the links that are relevant that they want to see. So that way, let's say if I change my Twitter handle for some reason, I'm not linking to my Twitter handle directly within each of those individual YouTube videos. I'm just linking to my TubeLinks profile, which has the correct Twitter link. So I only have to change things once in TubeLinks, and then all of the videos who link to TubeLinks are already up to date. Plus, I've worked in a feature where you're able to create video specific links. So for this video, I could create a list of 10 links, just provide one TubeLinks link within this video, and then they're able to see all the links relevant to this video without having to worry about those links getting out of date. I can always just easily manage them from one place, that is TubeLinks, instead of having to manage each individual video's links. In essence, without getting too complicated. The goal of it is just to make it easier to manage description links in YouTube videos. And since I was finding that I'm constantly creating all of these tools and resources, most recently I decided to create a new website called Makeable, which is my new business name, but it's also just an umbrella under which I can organize all of the different things that I'm constantly creating as well. Okay, so the main goal there was just to kind of give you some examples, to show you some problems that I've encountered and specific side projects that I've undertaken in order to help alleviate those problems, not only for myself, but also for other people out there who might be experiencing them as well. Okay, so now the big question. Why should you bother taking on a side project at all? Well, the first is that you get to solve a problem that you or other people are experiencing. Now, personally, I use something like Startboard every single day now, and it's made my life a lot easier simply because I took a little bit of extra time to actually create it. And other people who are using it hopefully are saving some time and some hassle as well. The next reason is that you either get to learn a new skill or hone in on the skills that you currently have. I can tell you personally that the best ways that I've improved personally, either doing video or either building WordPress-based websites, have been through these side projects. Because in and through these side projects, I've had to push myself further. I'd have to discover new, faster, and innovative ways to build sites or to film and to record videos. The other is that you get to build a body or portfolio of work. Again, even if there's only 3 or 4 people who watch your video or use your tool or who download your resource or watch your course, you still have that piece that you've created that you can set aside to then later, maybe potentially, get some work. As a quick aside, one of the positions I've had a couple of years ago came about simply because of how well I put together the video that I presented to the person who wanted to hire me. Originally, I was applying for a web development position, but because they liked the video so much, they hired me to do video. And then I would say probably 40 to 50% of the pieces that I presented in my web development portfolio have come about because of side projects. I've got plenty of client projects I've done as well, but a lot of the side projects I've done have actually shown a lot more depth and a lot more learning and understanding about web development than even some of my client projects. The next and potentially most attractive to a lot of people would be that you can start a business. Now, a lot of the tools and the resources that I create or give away are free, but some of them are paid, and there are a growing number of them that can become paid. The more that you create and the more value that you produce, it's natural and understandable that you can then turn that into a business. So say, for example, maybe you create YouTube videos like me, and then later on you discover that there's so much interest in a particular topic that you can create an online course for. Again, the opportunities are pretty much limitless. It all depends on how much you create and how much value you're creating for the people who are consuming your side project. And then an offshoot of that, of course, is that you can create an extra revenue stream, or eventually, as I mentioned with a business, your whole revenue stream. But as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the side hustle, is that the end goal of this should never be to make money. It's one of those things where you want to improve on a craft or grow in a particular trade or build a portfolio, it may eventually come to the point where you create a business that's profitable, where you do earn some side income. But if you make that your end goal, as I mentioned with the earlier side hustle example, it will almost inevitably fail. If the end goal isn't to solve a problem, and to solve a problem well for a particular group of people experiencing that problem, it's probably not going to work. Plus, not to mention the fact that it usually takes a decent amount of time before something that you create actually starts producing an income. Okay, so I've given you a lot of examples from myself, but you might be wondering, what are some of the potential side projects that you can take on? The first thing, of course, you want to do is consider what are your areas of expertise. So that's one. Then two, of course, you want to discover what is the particular problem that you or other people are experiencing. And then three, what is the method, the manner through which you are going to solve this problem? So here are just a few ideas that you can start kicking around depending on, again, what your area of expertise is. The first is a tool or software, something online. Of course, you'd have to have some type of code experience to be able to create that. But even if you don't, there are a number of web developers out there who may be able to help implement the particular thing you're trying to solve. Again, you just have to realize that there would be some cost involved if that's the road you want to go down. The next is a podcast. A podcast is a great way that you can get started pretty quickly and easily sharing an idea or expertise. Now, one of the challenges with podcasts, and one of the reasons why I personally stopped doing mine, is that a lot of people have a podcast. So it's easy to get lost in the mix, particularly if you don't have something that's extremely unique and you have a way of reaching people with that podcast. Because, at least in my experience, there's not a lot of discoverability in a podcast as a format. If you just create a podcast and publish an episode, it's very unlikely people are going to find out about that unless you already have an audience that you can share it with. Another is a weekly or even monthly email newsletter. Email is a great way to reach people because you don't have to worry about getting locked out on a social media site or losing access to those followers. You always have that list of subscribers, and email has a significantly better deliverability or engagement than any social media platform, particularly one with followers. Plus, you can always export that list at any point and just move to another platform or email service provider. Another is a YouTube channel or just videos in general. I personally am quite partial to video, as you can probably tell since I'm here on YouTube, but I think video is a great way not only to teach and to show something visually, you get to see what they look like, their facial expressions, their hand movements, everything in between. And it's a lot easier to connect with a visual aspect of somebody rather than just either text or even just their voice. Now, if you do end up doing video, one of the great extensions of that, which I probably haven't done nearly enough, is an online course. So you're able to actually teach the basics of something through video, and then you can upsell somebody to a whole course that teaches at length the breadth of that particular topic. And then of course you can charge access, either one-time access to a whole course or a membership type thing where you charge monthly for ongoing access to new videos. Okay, so up to this point, you might be interested. You might be, okay, I really need to actually start doing a side project. And you wouldn't be alone in that. There are a lot of people who start doing a project and never finish. It's kind of like how, we recently just hit the new year. We probably got a giant spike of gym memberships that have come through, but once we check in at about June or July, what percentage of people who got those gym memberships do you think are still going to the gym every day or every week? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that that number isn't very high. And that's normal. Anything that's worth doing takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of perseverance. However, I do have some tips for you to keep in mind if you want to pursue a side project, how even if you've got a pretty busy schedule, you can keep it moving forward. The first is to create a schedule, even if it's something that you add to your calendar. And even if it's only like 30 minutes a day, it can be a very small number, particularly to start with, especially if you have a full-time job. It makes sense that you're not going to be able to just take 2.5 hours out of your afternoon to apply to your side project. But I would create a schedule. Pick a specific time every single day or a couple or 3 times a week where you can dedicate to working on that side project. Again, it doesn't even have to be a huge part of that. It can be, if you're doing a YouTube video, just do the recording, and then the next day you can edit it. Or if you're working on coding or creating or writing something, well, just work on a particularly small task on Monday, and then on Wednesday, tackle the next one. The key is just to make sure you set aside that time so that you can keep the process moving forward. The more consistent you get with actually creating, you'll find the easier it is to continue creating from that point forward. So all that being said, there are a ton of advantages to creating a side project, as we've talked about in this video. And hopefully I've provided you with some reasons to pursue one if you're not currently, and if you are going to pursue one, hopefully some tips and ideas on how to pursue it moving forward. Ultimately, I think it's advantageous for anyone in any trade to get better at whatever they're doing now, or even to learn something new, so that it opens up new possibilities, not only for work, but just ways that you can help solve problems and help people in general. So feel free to leave me a comment. What side project are you currently working on, or what idea do you have for a side project that you'd like to pursue? I would love to hear about it. And as always, if you found this video useful, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Sky is falling down.